Indiana Jones, It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. The Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute, the daily podcast in which we scrutinize and celebrate and analyze the film Raiders of the Lost Ark 1 minute at a time. I'm Tom Taylor.
I'm Pete Mummert.
I'm Gerald Christopher Marcus Porter.
I'm Brett Stillo, writer, filmmaker, and soon-to-be podcaster.
Excellent. Welcome back, Brett.
Thank you.
What is your soon-to-be podcast, Brett?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm getting into the game. We're going to be starting something radical and new. And that's we're going to be talking about a movie once a week, and we're going to be doing it 5 minutes at a time.
What?
Isn't that crazy? That's really on the fringe. But I've gotten together with Mr. Josh Horowitz, possibly the world's greatest living authority, on a movie called Big Trouble in Little China. And
Nice.
We're going to be doing a show called 5 Minutes of Trouble. It'll be a weekly show. Yeah. Get your T-shirts now, folks.
That's awesome. This will get me not only to listen to another cool podcast, but also to finally fill a hole in my nerd credit and see Big Trouble in Little China finally. I've never seen Big Trouble in Little China.
You'll love it. It's never too...
I bet I will. I recently was in New York City and saw John Carpenter in concert performing all of his music, film music, and it was incredible. And they would show clips behind him of the different movies and stuff, and it was very exciting.
Are you going to watch it 5 minutes at a time?
I probably should. Oh, wait, me? Should I?
You should.
Maybe I should. That's not a bad idea. You should not do that with Alien. You should watch Alien all the way through and then listen to Alien Minute. But I should maybe do this with Big Trouble in Little China. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be a good experiment. But right now, here on this podcast, we are talking about Minute 80 of Raiders, and Minute 80 begins with Indy getting chased around the landing gear by Otto von Bluto, and it ends with a flood of gasoline rushing towards an open flame. And Marion is like blasting at the Nazis still, and this sets off a big explosion, which wakes up Dietrich, who's nodding by his... record player, and I noticed that we cannot hear what he's listening to the whole time, but we do hear the needle scratch on the record as he kicks it off with his foot. And I wonder if that's just because, maybe it's just because he fell asleep, and so like the needle is just sort of like hanging out at that blank space at the end of the record. You see, kids, a record was like a black laser disc that played music, and a laser disc was like a gigantic CD, and a CD was like a physical little round mirror that had MP3s on it.
I think it's just delightful that he fell asleep to Goodnight Irene.
Well, who can blame him?
Yeah, they have the arc. Everything's fine. Der Ferber's going to be thrilled.
He's going to get a raise.
Yeah, he's punched out.
Yeah.
It's good. Well, but going back previous, a couple of seconds before that,
Sure.
Dietrich slumber. I had a question. Do you think that our frakkas-seeking bald mechanic saw Indy's gun on the ground, but refrained from picking it up because he was simply just enjoying all the pugilism?
Yes.
That's entirely possible, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think
It's just another element of the fun for him.
Yeah.
Like, hope he doesn't get the gun. I'll beat him up until he does. And
Yeah,
then maybe I'll beat him up after.
right? I mean, because they show the gun and the plane rolls over and it's right by him. All he had to do was, as a matter of fact, all he had to do, frakkas-seeker, was save the fucking ark by stopping Indiana Jones. But see, this is a case of, he takes the fun too far.
Yeah.
Well, we don't even know who he's working for. He might just be a guy that lives next to the airport.
I was going to say,
He wakes up in the morning and he walks out of his thing and he's like, "This is the greatest day of my life. There's a fight right outside of my door."
I made the right decision.
Yeah, the realtor told me I'd enjoy this neighborhood.
Oh my God.
That's pretty good. I mean, he had so many opportunities, at least one giant one there, along with many others, to actually stop Indiana Jones. guess maybe he didn't know it was at stake, or he didn't get the morning email of, "Hey, we got the Ark. If you see anybody coming around trying to steal the Ark."
I do think it's weird that there aren't more guys around this plane right now. I mean, I guess everybody's centered around the Ark and getting it, I don't know, somehow transporting it from where they are to the plane. Like, we heard Dietrich give orders to put it on the plane, but yeah, it's weird that there's nobody guarding the plane right now. I mean, I guess they don't. What were you gonna say?
Well, why are all they're like in front of the Ark? There are maybe 60 or 70 guys wearing just sort of Tunisian local dress, sitting on the ground. Are they prisoners? Or are they just waiting, or what are they doing?
There's a lot of that going on in these minutes, and I wonder if those Indy's guys. Are those the guys who are helping him dig, and now they're kind of under arrest or something? Or are they just, I don't know.
You just want to watch the fun?
Or maybe they're conscripted by the Nazis. They're the Nazis' diggers, and I don't know. They're just told them to have a lie down, have a sit down, and fold their hands and wait until they're further orders or something. It is weird. There's a lot of random Tunisian extra business going on in these minutes.
I love that they play Indy's theme, but it's hesitant and off kilter.
Yeah, like Indy.
Yeah,
he's off kilter.
Yeah. That this whole fight scene is very cartoony in some ways. And what it most really reminds me of is an old Popeye cartoon.
Yeah.
You've got the little guy
Yeah.
who's fighting, you've got the big bruiser. And you've got a lot of just gymnastics, and they're kind of bouncing off things, and they're running around things. It's, and yeah, I mean, as I was watching that, I was kind of thinking, whenever you hear the Indy theme, he does seem to get a second wind, or he gets a little stronger. I mean, that's kind of like the spinach cue.
Right, but in this case, it's like a premature ejaculate. It's like they start it, and it's like, oh, no, wait.
Never mind.
But in some of those Popeye cartoons, you remember it's like, they tease you, or, okay, I'm going to get my spinach, and then he loses the can, so, and you hear the spinach theme, and then it's like, oh, the can rolls under the wheels of the flying wing, so.
Yeah. I like that Indy has a perfect Captain Kirk line of blood on his mouth in this scene, like on his lower lip. It's absolutely Captain Kirk.
Oh, that's from that one horrible sledgehammering clubbing that he took a couple of minutes ago.
The one that knocked him on his ass, yeah.
Yeah, that still gives me shakes.
Oh, we can see the Well of the Souls in the background. That exit. Oh, I don't know what it is. It's not the Well of the Souls, but it's that exit that they came out of. And seeing it there just freaks me. It makes me even more confused.
It seems to defy spatial reality that we've seen in the movie.
Because it doesn't look like it's anywhere near a dig or anything. It's not like Well of Souls adjacent or anything. It's just this thing.
Or near like a giant. Yeah, because they must have been really deep under, on a giant hill, but there doesn't seem to be a big hill behind it either.
Yeah.
And like we said, it's just been, the entrance to the Well of the Souls in this tiny little building that no one looked into for 3,000 years.
Right.
That's covered with scaffolding, like they were thinking about it.
We just need to.
We'll get there.
Just need to. Yeah. We just need the requisition form. maybe next semester.
There's like a stop dig order sticker on it or something. Big orange sticker.
I get so unbelievably anxious when I see that very first German mechanic.
Oh yeah,
the one who had the huge monkey wrench.
Yeah, and he's asleep in the fuel under the plane.
Exactly, and he awakes and realizes he's flooded with gasoline and trapped under the plane.
Yeah,
that makes me so anxious. And he's like, "What? Wait a minute."
I love though that Spielberg gave that poor guy a happy ending.
Yeah, at least somebody gets away.
He jumps up and he runs off. You know what? That guy, that's a happy story in this movie.
No, he didn't. Because in the heat of the desert, moments later, he
That's right, yeah. He's probably blinded by the gasoline in his eyes and stuff. He's going to have a
He's like, I'm just going to have a nice cigarette.
Oof, that was a close point.
Well, Pete, you bring up a good point, though. What's the point of showing that guy escape?
Or maybe if they're going to show him under there, I think you have to show him escape. Because he was just like a guy doing his job. He didn't seem like a bad guy.
Or maybe it's just to show that the gasoline is right there and that as soon as it goes up, the plane's going to go up.
Yeah, it raises the tension because his reaction, Jared, just like you said, is like, I'm covered in gas. I'm out of here.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
Help me, Mr. Wizard. I don't want to be a Nazi anymore.
Although if you see in other shots, it's weird because there's a continuity issue. Ring the bell. In other longer shots, you can't see. You see that the gas is not yet to the plane, but in these shots, it's like flooding under the plane. So I'll shove my glasses back up my nose and feel superior to everybody for noticing that.
Well, there is a very poignant moment in this minute, and it's, Indy is running out from under the plane, and he almost gets a face full of propeller.
Oh, yeah.
But Marion yells out from a locked cockpit. I'm sure you couldn't hear. She yells out to Indy, "Watch out!" And he turns around and goes the other way.
Yeah.
And in a way, she saves him from getting his face ripped off by a propeller.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, if only our frackas-seeking bald mechanic had a loved one.
Aw. God.
Somebody else who maybe could have watched over him.
Well, maybe the pilot was his good buddy or somebody, and now they're not there to help him out. Or that is sad. He's all alone in that hut with his stein and his cap.
We all need someone.
Clearly.
To warn us of the propeller to the face.
It just occurred to me, I think the mechanic's great love is the flying wing.
Oh, that's even sadder. Jesus Christ.
That's his baby. And he's like, he's a sad and lonely guy. So it's
he's like the Rancor keeper.
Well, luckily he dies first. Well, we're getting ahead, but
Hey, okay, so going back just a moment to Dietrich asleep at the record player, something I mentioned yesterday. What's going on there? He's listening to a record. A circular object going around and around.
Oh.
Circus.
Like the entire... Oh, and also there's a great shot in this minute of like a wide shot of the entire scene of the flying wing in that big circle, just slowly rotating, and you see the runway going out into the distance. So it's all circles, and it's
all circles,
and it's all nuts.
Marion's mouth when she goes, "Look out!"
Out.
It's all circles and all Yahweh. Because I realize why Marion says, "Oh my God," because she's realizing that her God is actually multiplying the gasoline and making it migrate towards the fire, and they're not on a hill.
Is it really her God?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Moses water gasoline is, flooding this entire, flat plain.
Yeah. Movie magic.
Yeah.
Indy's response is very tender, though. He's very soft. He's like, "Marion."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, it's like yell her name. He's just a very...
I wonder if they actually lifted that same Marion that he says when she dies in the truck.
Yeah, it's almost... I was thinking of that same scene.
Yeah, it does look a little ADR-like.
Yeah.
But it's a nice moment because I think both characters realize they still care.
Aww.
After all they've been through, it's like, you're kind of an asshole, but I don't want to see your face get cut off with a propeller. So,
yeah.
She wouldn't get to punch him in the face anymore if he got his face cut off with a propeller.
Yeah, exactly. And Marion and Indy, that tension works. It's very real. We have a very, they have a kind of a dark backstory, and the whole movie, they're just kind of going back and forth, and and it just seems like, sure, it's this fantastic adventure movie, but their relationship at its core is pretty real. It's like, you ditched me, you keep ditching me. I have abandonment issues here.
Right. Of all the characters in this movie to not ditch, could it please be me? For crying out loud.
Yeah. Yeah. Although, I mean, we see he's I think at the end of the scene he's trying to get her out of the canopy. So
Yeah. So you can ditch her again later.
So
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, there's only room for me in the Ark. I'll be back for you.
Probably.
That's why he wants her out. He needs that space for the ark.
Yeah, the thing's small.
I promise I'm going to turn this flying wing around. I'm going to come right back for you.
There's one stunt in this scene that I feel like I could have done. When Indy's on top of the plane and Otto von Bluto's up there with him and he punches him off the plane, you can see that the stuntman lands like feet first, kind of. Like he lands on his feet and then crumbles to the ground. I'm like, I bet I could do that. I could make that look dramatic. I could land on my feet and like not hurt myself and then collapse. I'm gonna try
Brett,
that.
you had a story for us.
Oh yeah.
I bet here it is. It's Friday.
It's Friday. It's story. Okay, who wants to hear a story? So, yeah, as I promised or teased on Monday, how did I know the ending of this movie like 5, 6, 7, 8 months before anybody else? So here's the story. It is the autumn of 1980 in the San Francisco Bay Area, and it's a Sunday afternoon, and my family had been given the unheard of opportunity to get a free private tour of Industrial Light and Magic.
Oh my God.
San Rafael, California. I found myself, I was 15, 16 years old, at ground zero of geekdom, ILM, getting a tour. There's Darth Vader's, his super Star Destroyer, which is actually smaller than the other Star Destroyers. And
Oh, you're breaking my heart.
yeah, it's kind of a bummer, but just one quick aside, seeing the Prime Millennium Falcon model, and having read in Starlog about all the details and the in jokes, and looking at it and seeing a little tiny black and yellow California license plate. It says THX 138. It's on the back of the Falcon.
Oh my God! Seriously?
Wow.
Yeah. It's their Prime model. I think it's about 4 feet in diameter. So yeah, all kinds of details. So I'm mildly stunned by all this. I'm just sort of walking in a daze. The guy giving us the tour was a fellow named Michael Bowles. He was an engineer in charge of the process shots. And so he takes us into this one room, and there's this large picture, a painting on glass of a warehouse. And there's the inside of a warehouse, and there's a big empty space in the middle of this picture. And he says, yeah, this is something we're just wrapping. It's called Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Boring.
And yeah, this is the last scene of the movie where they hide the Ark in a big government warehouse. Now over here.
Oh my God.
And yeah, I mean, geek that I was, I knew they were making Raiders of the Lost Ark. I knew the title.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, there was. It's funny because back then, it's totally not like it is now. There was no press. There was no, there was just. I remember a little 1-paragraph story in Starlog. Hey, don't worry about Harrison Ford. While we're waiting for Return of the Jedi, he's making a movie with. He's making another movie with George Lucas. It's called Raiders of the Lost Ark. It's an adventure film. I remember reading that, thinking, boy, that sounds dumb. Raiders of the Lost Ark, what's that about?
Well, what's incredible is, you'd never be able to, they'd never do that, obviously, today, because you'd tweet that in 5 seconds and everybody would lose $80 million.
Yeah. And, the funny thing is, we live in this age of, like, the hyper-paranoia about the spoiler alert. And so this is interesting because I said to myself, wow, here's this movie. I know the ending, but I don't know the beginning, the middle, and what leads to the end. So I just knew that, okay, whatever happens, the Ark ends up in a warehouse. I can happily say when I first saw Raiders, there was no spoiler at all. It didn't spoil anything. I just like, but yeah, okay, hey, it's going to be okay because it's going to end up in a warehouse.
That's incredible.
Yeah, watching it, I definitely didn't say, doesn't matter. Thing ends up in a warehouse anyway. So.
Did you tell all your friends, like, before the movie came out, I know something you don't know?
Yeah, I think I did. At that point, the movie opens, it's getting rave reviews, it's lines around the block again, and yeah, then I was like,
Boxes.
I knew about this months ago. There's a warehouse scene coming up.
Yeah, lots of boxes, lots of crates. It's going to
There's
blow your
lots of
mind.
crates, and
How big was the painting?
good question. I'm kind of remember it maybe being 2 to 3 feet high and maybe 3 to 4 feet wide. It was, or no, probably more than that. It was a pretty good sized painting. So yeah, I'd say let's say 4 feet high, 6 to 9 feet wide.
Wow.
It was not a puny thing. It was
I think
big.
you can find pictures of that being painted and stuff.
Yeah.
I get a sense of the scale of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm forgetting the name of the map painter. He was kind of the last of the great map painters. He was not all that old. It wasn't Peter Ellenshaw or Harrison Ellenshaw. It was, but he was the last of the breed. And,
Well, that must have been incredible growing up in the Bay Area there with all that close by. I mean, we just, being from Ohio, was like, who wants to go to Amish country?
Yeah,
They got boxes.
Yeah,
Yeah, they have great cheese.
yeah. I grew up in Marin County. So yeah, I was in the middle of it, and it was pretty special being in like in my teens, and my friends and I would kind of compare George Lucas sightings.
Very cool.
Yeah, in fact, okay, you want to hear my George Lucas story?
Yes.
All right. I'll make it real quick because there's not much to it. So I'm driving home from college, and I'm on the freeway, and I see a Ferrari coming up behind me. And again, being 18 years old and thinking I'm an invincible in my little '66 Mustang, I blocked the Ferrari. I'm not gonna let it.
Good for you.
I'm in a '66 Mustang. I'm invincible. The Ferrari, and I was a bit of a racing buff at the time. So the Ferrari gets right up behind me and does this perfectly executed Le Mans pass, like without losing any momentum, any speed. He just goes right around me, zoom. It was like slicing at me with a knife. And as the car goes by, I see the license plate, THX 138.
Nice.
Wow,
George.
you got getting passed by George Lucas.
Yeah, he totally burned my ass.
That's amazing. I wonder if that's what J.J. Abrams feels like now. As he-
Or was George Lucas calling on that memory when he made the beginning of Crystal Skull?
Could be.
I
Was that
doubt
one
if
guy?
he went to the office and said, "Hey, I just burned this dude in a Mustang."
Write that down.
Yeah.
Save that put that in the file. All right. Well, on that awesome George Lucas note, we should wrap this up.
Yeah.
Brett, thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been awesome.
Man, thanks for having me.
We're all bloody and bruised, but it's been great.
It's been great. Oh, maybe the last thing I'd like to say is doing this whole thing was really fun. But after hearing for years about this movie being like an ode to cliffhangers, I finally got that experience because minute 80 ends in a cliffhanger.
That's true.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear next week, and I hope they get out okay.
What's going to happen?
Yeah.
well, we know the Ark is going to be all right.
Probably.
Poor Ark.
Pete, where can people get in touch with us and read about all our ideas about how the Ark is doing, what might happen next? It's all fan
Check us
theory
out
from now on.
Yeah, check us out on Facebook. Check us out on our Facebook page, Indiana Jones Minute and the Listener Crusade, or find us at indianajonesminute.com.
And we've given this short thrift in the past, but short shrift. We've given the short shrift in the past, but we want to mention all the other minute podcasts out there. Obviously, there's the Star Wars Minute, which birthed this whole mania. You've got the Alien Minute, you've got Back to the Future Minute, Wrath of Khan Minute, Ghostbusters Minute, Airport Minute, Goodfellas Minute, which is over, but it's still there and it's awesome. A Talking Cast, which is based on a talking cat, which is supposedly horrible. Not the show, but the movie. The Cast Next Door, As If, which is about Clueless. Assembling the Avengers, and Jaws. They're all there for you to enjoy. Find them online. You can go to moviesbyminutes.com and find links to these and any other shows that are coming up, including the upcoming, what's it called?
5 Minutes of Trouble.
5 Minutes of Trouble about Big Trouble in Little China. But thank you all, and come back next week for minute 81 of Raiders of the Lost Ark here on the Indiana Jones Minute.
Watch out!
Look out!
Marion.
Marion.
That was my imitation of the needle scratch on the record.